So during my 20-some years of meditation, there were times when it was not easy, it was difficult, and it got easier and easier. And there was a period of time where I experienced.
Well, what do you mean by meditation is difficult?
Well, holding my attention, basically trying to hold my attention to my breath.
All right, so now let's talk about this. Let's talk about this in terms of what we talked about earlier. Pulling back the fists is very hard to do.
Yes.
When the momentum has you ready to kill.
Right.
Holding back the words is very difficult to do when the momentum has you all queued up, ready to tell them what you think.
Yeah.
So we want to reintroduce the concept of pre-paving. Pre-paving meaning watch for a moment when you're in the vortex, and in that moment make your plans, because the plans made from in the vortex are infinitely more powerful than the plans made from outside the vortex. If we were sitting to meditate and and it was difficult, we'd say wrong time. It's equivalent to planning a better breakfast while you're eating one that disappoints you. Right. In other words, if it's hard, you're barking up the wrong tree. Stop it. In other words, you might as well just go beat someone up. Well, you know what we're talking about. In other words, the struggle doesn't help anything. So when you say it's hard, we say then stop it. Anytime you say this is hard, now most people would say, oh, push through, and you'll make it through the struggle. But that's not what happens. What happens is sooner or later you have to sleep. Sooner or later you can't hold that focus. Sooner or later some sweet person is going to smile at you and you're going to feel an in the vortex moment. In other words, don't try to make it happen when it's not happening easily. Back off. And you knew that when you were children. When Dad was in a bad mood, that's not when you ask for the car. You knew better. You knew better. When he was in a bad mood, you stayed clear. You made yourself invisible, didn't you?
Yes.
Esther's sister Jeannie used to say about Esther, Esther would just sort of blunder in innocently, and Jeannie would say, can't you tell that this isn't a good time? Can't you tell that it's not a good time? In other words, you know that. And so the same thing is true with this. Don't try to force, because remember, what you've got going on vibrationally is what you've got going on vibrationally. And that's what law of attraction is dishing up for you. And if what's dishing up isn't pleasing you, then you want to diffuse it. And the way you diffuse it is by releasing it, not by digging in your heels and try to make it happen more.
Yeah.
That was what we were demonstrating as we were mocking our own cards today.
Yeah. I've felt that feeling of releasing it when I feel it, when it starts to come and I release it. And it is a great feeling when I...
All right, so this conversation is about trying too hard. And this is what this conversation is about trying too hard. It's about trying to make something happen from a vibration that isn't cooperating. It's trying too hard. And so then you offered the conversation about you were in a real vibrational struggle. In fact, it was such, we're talking about when you were 17, yeah. It was such that there was no way out as far as you could identify it. You could not identify a way out, but you wanted with everything that you were a way out. And so you'd launched it into the vortex. The way out was there. The way out was the releasing of resistance, but you couldn't see it because you were so engulfed in the struggle that you couldn't see it. And so here's the point that we're wanting to make with all of you, and you will enjoy this as you hear it. So when you know what you don't want, you launch a rocket about what you do want. But if you're really involved in what you don't want, blogging about it, having conversations about it, going to chat rooms about it, talking to friends about it, or just thinking about it in your own mind, then you're not going to the improved place. And so don't worry, it will get bigger. And as it gets bigger, so does this get bigger. As what you don't want gets bigger, what you do want gets bigger. So the stakes get higher and higher and higher, because the more you know what you don't want, the more you know what you do want. But the more you've practiced knowing what you don't want, then the more uncomfortable what you do want is. Have you ever said, I wish I didn't want that, I felt better before I did? Because before I wanted it, I didn't notice not having it. And now I want it. It's painful not to have it. And so the stakes get higher and higher and higher and higher until eventually there is in other words, here is a truth that people have discovered. It goes like this. If my desire is strong enough, it can override my beliefs. If my desire is strong enough, it can override my beliefs. That's what happened to you. Your desire was strong enough and it overrode your beliefs. But it's a very rough ride. So what we're asking all of you is, how much pain are you willing to endure between the I know what I don't want and I know what I do want? In other words, if we were standing in your physical shoes, we'd know what we don't want and we'd know what we do want, and we'd talk about what we do want until we got it. And then we'd know what we don't want, and then we'd know what we do want, and then we'd talk about what we do want until we got it. In other words, we would not try to pay any big price of struggle, because it doesn't make any difference. There are many ways to evolve in this experience. You can focus on what you don't want, which causes your inner being to focus on what you do want, and then you can focus further on what you don't want, which causes your inner being to focus upon what you do want, and you can focus still further on what you don't want, which causes your inner being to focus on what you do want, until you can't maintain your existence in this body, and then you'll release, and the vortex will take you in, and in one fell swoop you will reclaim all that you've created. That's one way of going about it. It's a very drastic, dramatic, perfectly acceptable, not a thing wrong with it, except it's miserable way to go about it. Or you can know what you don't want. Your inner being knows what you do want. You can want to feel good. You can have tasted the sweetness of alignment, and you can be willing to feel good regardless of what other people are thinking or saying about it. And you can reach for the thought that feels best and come into alignment. And then you can know what you don't want and know what you do want, and come into alignment and know what you don't want and know what you do want. And you can have the same sort of powerful evolution that someone who struggled had. You just had a joyful life in the process. Right. And what we really want to put to all of you as humans, we would like to ask a question that you will answer in a vivid way of yourselves. Where did you get this idea that you have to struggle your way into your expansion and evolution? In other words, where do you get that stuff? Nothing in the wholeness of who you are is teaching you that. It must be that you're listening to other strugglers, and it's all they know to teach. Yep. In other words, because in a very mediocre world where you're just hacking out a few physical manifestational privileges, then the struggle might pay off more than the not struggle, in the sense that you can gather more toys and you can get more money along with your stress and strain and all of that. But when you take the big picture into consideration and you factor the joy factor in, you factor the life factor in, you factor the source factor in, there's no place for struggle in that bigger picture. Right. And you had the benefit of being shown the bigger picture when you were very, very young. And yep. Now it's coming into alignment in a way that you can understand it. So we're just going to give you a series of very potent, powerful statements. There is no gain worth talking about in pain. There is no gain worth talking about when you're in pain, because the entire time you are in pain, you're holding yourself in the resistant stance that does not allow the receiving of the legacy that you've already carved out. The way we tell the story is 3 steps to the creative process. Step 1 is ask, and life causes you to do that. Step 2 is source doesn't just answer. Source becomes the vibrational equivalent of what you've asked for. And step 3 is you got to find some way, somehow, to come into alignment with what you're asking for. So here's a series of statements. If we were standing in your physical shoes, these would be some of our mantras. I've decided that I'm a good person and that I deserve good things to happen to me. And therefore, I've decided that I'm going to pamper myself as much as possible. I'm going to look for as much fun. I'm going to look for as much fulfillment. I'm going to look for as much ease. I'm going to follow my ease. I'm going to follow my bliss. I'm going to follow my flow. I'm going to follow the good feeling. I'm going to let the good times roll. I'm going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to hang around with people that are fun to be with. I'm going to look for reasons to feel good. I'm going to keep a diary of good feeling things. I'm going to call it my book of positive aspects. I'm going to get a box. I'm going to call it my creation box. I'm going to throw all kinds of good stuff in it, and I'm going to proclaim it as this mine. I'm going to accept the reality of this vibrational reality, and I'm going to go there as often as I can. I'm going to bask. When I find myself basking, I'm going to milk it with everything that I've got. I'm going to look for other people that are doing the same. I'm going to trust that law of attraction is going to cue me up with them. I'm going to feel less responsible to fewer people. I'm not going to let other people make me feel guilty about what I'm doing. I'm not going to take responsibility for where other people are, no matter who they are or how related they think they are to me. I'm going to take no responsibility for how anybody else feels. My marriage vows are going to say, I like you pretty good. Let's see how it goes. I like you pretty good. Let's see how it goes. I just need to warn you that nothing that you do will have any effect on the way I feel. I'm good. I've got that one down. I'm not going to hold you responsible for how I feel ever. So just please yourself and make yourself happy, because that's what I plan to do. And if they go running and screaming away, afraid, then say, good, this is good, because I am queuing myself up for alignment. I had a death experience when I was 17 that showed me that life is supposed to feel good for me. And I am going to figure out a way to carve that feeling out of every single day of my life experience, because that's who I really am. That's what I came to live.
Thank you very much.
So struggle is off. It's off the beam, and hard is off the beam. When you say, this is hard, I can't figure it out, hear the voice in the back of your head, which is us saying, then do something else. Do anything else. Let the curse lift off of you. Do something else. Break the vibrational chain of pain. Change your mind. Change the subject. Change the conversation. Change the person you're talking to. Change the thought. Change the image. Change your clothes. Change something. Do anything you can think of that's different than what you're doing until the vibration shifts. Good. Now what? Would you rather feel joy or comfort?
Joy.
That's good. Can you experience joy and comfort?
Yes.
Because comfort is the full manifestational indicator of the alignment of joy. So which comes first, joy or comfort?
Joy.
You're really getting this. Can comfort come on a new subject before joy?
Yes. No?
Well, it was a trick question, but the answer really is comfort cannot come before joy, because joy is the alignment with the creation, and comfort is the physical realization of that alignment. And so we're just using different ways to try to get you to care about the vibration first and foremost, and really only. That's really asking a lot of you physical creatures to ask you to give up your attachment to your physical reality. But if you could, you'd be really happy now.